Hello, I am Sierra, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. If you are a mother and you don't think that you have time to read, then this is the video for you. Have you ever said any of these, girl? Have you said, as a mom, I don't have time to read, or I don't read because I am too busy? Fill in the blank with whatever the thing you're busy with. Have you ever said, my schedule is chaotic, girl. I'm taking the kids to school, I am dropping them off. Or if you're a homeschooling parent, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm schooling them. I have a lot going on. What are you talking about? Or have you ever said, I don't know if I'm going, if I'm coming most days. I say that sometimes, but like, these are all real things as a parent of children, especially little children. But today, we're going to eliminate all those things and we're going to find us time to read. I promise you, you're going to leave with at least one thing that you can do to start back reading, to get yourself back into reading. Let's jump in. Okay, I made a promise and I'm going to try to get this to you 10-15 minutes. So stick in here with me. All right, so if you are the parent who's like, hey, my schedule is chaotic. I'm taking the kids to school, I'm homeschooling them, I'm washing clothes, I'm trying to get sleep in the middle of going from one class to the next class. Like, Sierra, you don't understand my life. Okay, I get it. Listen, I am a homeschooling parent. If anybody gets it, I get it. People think that we just sit at home and do nothing, but there's a lot to be done. I am teacher, I am counselor, I am mathematician, I am mediator some days, I am the cook, I do a lot. So listen, you are not talking to someone, like I'm not talking to you as if I don't get it. I promise you I get it. Tip number one is to replace your scrolling with reading. I know. We get bored. There's things in between, like people are updating us on these apps all of the time. You have news apps, you have social media apps, there's YouTube, there's lots of streaming services. There's so much to consume. But I want to challenge you to replace your scrolling, like your boop, 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 with reading. If you find yourself scrolling, you can read a book. And you may take some time to read this book, but you, instead of pulling out your phone, pull out a book. And I want to suggest this. You can read, this wasn't one of the tips, but this is something I do want to say. You can read graphic novels. I'll do another video on graphic novels. You can read magazines. I'll do a video with those together, because graphic novels and magazines sometimes are overlooked as something that we can read and enjoy, and can give us information, and can give us pleasure, and can give us like a way to zone out from our usual lives. So reading a book that is like a comic can be, depending on what you like, enjoyable. Reading a magazine like Magnolia Journal, and y'all know how I feel about it because I talk about it in another video. If you haven't watched that video, I'll put it somewhere so you can see, but Magnolia Journal is a great one to read. And there's not a lot of words that are like a book, and there's a lot of advertisements in it as well, so you may get some ideas. So I just wanted to say that that's tip number one. Tip number two is for the parent who's like, I am too busy. Like, I have school, I have work, I have to pick the kids up. And it's just not for parents, don't get me wrong. If you're just a busy person and you have a lot going on in your schedule, then the thing I want to say to you is that you can listen to audiobooks. I listen to my books through Libby, which is a free service through my public library. So you can listen to books through Libby. You can also listen to them through a paid subscription through Audible. There's also a way to listen to books on Spotify now. So I don't know how many books are on Spotify, but Spotify does books now. So that is a way that you can commute to work, take those kids to school while you're homeschooling and they're doing their work. You can put it in your headphones or on your speaker. That is a way for the parent who is like, hey, I got a lot going on and I'm busy, my schedule is kind of tight. You're gonna move from one place to the next. From A to B, you can listen to an audiobook. So that is tip number two. Tip number three is like, for the person who's like, oh my goodness, girl, I don't know if I'm going or if I'm coming most days. And that's also in the midst, kind of in the same genre of like, kind of in the same thought process as like, there's a lot happening. What I'm saying in all of these, before I give you that, is that we have time. We just have to carve it out. And more times than not, we're usually scrolling on our phones. More times than not, we're having unnecessary conversations. More times than not, we are consumed in someone else's life on the internet when we can be in a book that's going to help us to unwind, that's going to help us to reimagine, that's going to help us with a new perspective. So I think if you want my 2 cents, that you have time, you just have to make the time and carve it out. And the thing I think that most people who say that they don't have time to read or don't make the time to read is that you're probably, if you look at your life, and I know this is gonna sting, but somebody has to say it, and I'm gonna be that person. You are more than likely what I just said, consumed in someone else's life online, and you're numbing out using those things instead of using a book. Like I have anxiety, and reading has been one of the many things that I have been using to help me to stay present, to help me to navigate and go through my life's journey. And I did not think that I would be using reading for that. And I was actually at the park. And I was talking to a young lady, and she was telling me how she has anxiety really bad. Like, there's levels to anxiety if you don't know. Like, it's like, it can be mild, it can be moderate, it can be high anxiety. Everyone has a different level of it. And she has high anxiety to the point where her panic attacks can be every day, and she's on medication for it. And so me and her were talking, and she told me basically like she uses reading it has helped her to manage her anxiety. And I was like, you are absolutely right, because it's helped me as well, but I would have never put it in those terms. But absolutely, reading is a great way to help you to not be, it's kind of like escaping your own life. And I say escaping in a beautiful way, because sometimes some of us need something other than our children calling our names, taking them back and forth to school, taking them to, if you have children that are in sports, taking them back and forth to sports. And it doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you don't want to do those things, but sometimes those things get repetitive. Sometimes those things get tiring. Sometimes you just don't feel like it. That's just what it is. You just don't feel like it. And so I want to like give some empathy here and say, like, I get it. Some days I wake up, there's a lot to be done in my household. And sometimes my daughter also lives with a disease. And so with her disease, we have to learn how to manage our household around her when she's having a crisis. She has sickle cell. So there's a lot of things and that is something that's unpredictable when she has a crisis. It's not something that we know how to manage quickly when there's signs that it's happening, but then once the signs are there, it is already happening. So sometimes my schedule, like this week, my schedule had to change. I had to be very flexible. I had to be more compassionate. I have to be more loving and more caring and more present with her and in our household. And so because of that, I'm losing sleep at nighttime. My husband is losing sleep at nighttime. We're switching like a shift. And like we're switching shifts. Like he may do the nighttime, I do the morning time. He may do the morning time, I do the nighttime, to be able to care for her well. I get it. There's so many things that happen in the life of a parent. So I'm not saying that I don't understand. I want you to know from what they say, the horse's mouth, I want you to know, I get it. So this last thing I want to share with you is habit stacking. Habit stacking can couple it with the other 2 things I've already shared, which is replace your scrolling with reading and to listen to your audiobooks. Which habit stacking comes in perfect here, because while you're dropping off the kids, while you're putting the kids to sleep, while you're getting food, while you're making dinner, you can listen to your audiobooks. Or you can habit stack and say, when I wake up in the morning, before I begin my day, when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm going to listen to my audiobook. If you're like, hey, I am a physical hand person, I suggested 2 different types of books, which is to read a magazine or to read a graphic novel. And you can say, hey, while I'm eating dinner, instead of talking tonight, mom's going to read some of her book. Instead of tonight at dinner, I'm going to go to my room and eat, and y'all can eat at the table. There's a way to make it happen, especially if you're a person who enjoys reading, enjoys it. Like, I enjoy it, and I'm so grateful. The way that I got back to reading is through My grief, honestly, my grief caused me to go back to reading, and I'm so grateful for my grief now because it helped me to realize, like, Sierra, you've enjoyed reading since you were younger, and this is something that is going to sustain you, and it keeps me youthful because there's some things that I've been reading. Actually, I'm going to tell you about a few books that I'm reading right now. So if you want to stay tuned to that, I'm going to recap the tips that I gave in this video so far are to replace your scrolling with reading, to habit stack, to listen to your audiobooks, and to read magazines or a comic slash graphic novel. So I just want to talk about some books right quick that I am currently reading. I have not completed any of these books, and this is probably unheard of on YouTube in the bookish community, but hey, I'm Sierra and I just do things the way I like to do them. So this first book is a book that my husband and I are reading, and it's taken us a while, and that's okay. We're in no rush, but Part of Your World, I am enjoying this book. I am enjoying it. I think I just enjoy it because my husband reads it to me and we read to each other. So I am enjoying this book. It is really, really good. In this book so far, we have Alexis and we have Daniel. Daniel is a small town guy and Alexis is a doctor and, well, a nurse. And she is really having trouble with loving Daniel and being there with Daniel. In this book, she's having trouble. I don't want to give it away. We're almost done, so I don't know how it's going to end up. But as you can see from the pictures, like, she's a part of the city, he's a part of the country. And they're just trying to bring their worlds together. I think Daniel is trying to bring their worlds together more so than Alexis, because Alexis is having some family things. And this book is teaching me so much. I will do a review or like a hash like out of all the things once I finish it. But this book, oh my goodness, is really good, and it's teaching me some things that I did not think that I would grab from a book. And this is why it's important to read. It's teaching me that how I parent my children is going to impact how their relationships are. Duh. But also at the same time, some people don't know that. Like how you're parented. Let me get comfortable, okay? How you are parented in your household is going to deeply impact your relationships from here on out. So I take my role as a mother very seriously and very playfully, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go. I'm reading books as I go. I'm learning new things as I go. So I get that part. And I am very intentional about how I'm parenting my children, because I am very aware that how I was parented impacts my marriage. Like I said in another video, like my husband and I have been able to heal, if you will, or be in the healing process of a lot of our childhood wounds and a lot of the things we went through in childhood that were impacting us. And it has changed us. Like, we're not showing up as little James and little Sierra anymore. We're showing up as present day Sierra and James. And so there's stuff still, don't get me wrong, there's stuff still there, but the big things, we've tackled those. And in this book, I'm seeing like Alexis has some big things to tackle. She has some big things to tackle. And Daniel too, but I think like I see like Alexis are screaming like, burr, like help me. I'm not really enjoying her dad in this story because he is the one that's having the most impact on her. But I think another thing it's teaching me is like to be very, very mindful of how we treat people, how I treat people, I should say, because people are going through things we don't even know. And sometimes people are showing up in a way that doesn't look authentic to them in a past season because how their relationships are impacting them. My God, like the way that her family was towards her growing up, and her brother has went off somewhere and married this celebrity girl without telling the family, made her sign an NDA, a non-disclosure act, and it's like, what is happening? So far, so good. I am enjoying it. It's teaching me so much that I didn't know I needed to learn, or that I even thought that I can grab from like reading a book. This is why it's important to read a book. I'm also reading this book, which is called Toothpaste Millionaire. This is one of my favorite books from growing up. It is about it's about Rufus and his friend. What's her name? I forgot his friend's name, but Rufus and his friend. Rufus is a black boy and his friend is a white girl. And she is helping Rufus to, I'm trying to find her name. I'll put her name on the screen when I look in the book. But Rufus and her are trying to make toothpaste. They go into the store one day to get some toothpaste, and I'm buddy reading this with a friend. Y'all probably get a little book club on here because I want to share it. But this is one of my favorite books. I hated math at first when I was in middle school, and I want to say my teacher, her name started with an R, Miss Richardson maybe. She suggested that I read this book, and I was so grateful to her for getting me to read it because it's like so good. Like the black guy comes out on top and he is like a little bit about racism in here. It's just a good book. I wanted to read. I wanted to spin the block. And go back to this because it reminds me of my childhood. And this is not the original cover. I will tell you that the original cover was red, white, and blue. I'll put it over here because I went to the library to try to get the library version because I thought they had the version that is what I remember from school, but they didn't. And that kind of made me sad. And so I would like to get the original version because I remember getting it from the library, and I actually got like my accelerated reader points from reading this book because it was an easy read for me. Okay, the next book that I have is Everyday Magic. So, storage full is what my cell phone said as I tried to conclude this video about the books. I will do another video where I talk about Everyday Magic by Maddie James, as you see me on the screen. And also, I'm going to tell you how I was able to figure out a loophole to get my photos off of my cell phone and onto this special device. And if you are a mother, you want to be on the lookout for that video because you are probably going to be just as excited, if not more, than I was when I found this. And I found it on sale. So, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.